Okay.
Okay. Ooh. Perfect.
Good.
Also, Esteban, you're the one hosting.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
Billy John. All right.
There we are. Add.
Did I apply to this or not? Oh no, I shall apply. Apply.
I guess whenever the music ends?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Okay, then whenever you feel ready to switch over to the intro and then just count me in. I guess whenever the music ends? I can hear myself on the stream. Great. Okay. Oh boy. All right. Hi everyone. You know what? Never mind. Hi. Welcome to the Shaded Pixels podcast, where we break down topics to the shadings and pixels, topic by topic. Their games, the games by their shadings and pixels, topic by topic. There we go. I'm all discombobulated because stuff is all weird. Anyway, the point is that I am one of your hosts, Esteban, and aka I am also Colorwind, and I am also Stephen Caves, and I am also Grand Fast discombobulated. I continue to be discombobulated. See, this is why we should have had my other co-host BJ Brown here, aka Bunny 3000, maybe hosting, because I don't know what I'm doing. And, worst case scenario, I could have always just tapped in the Heartbreak Kid himself, Shawn Richards.
What's up, people?
AKA Little Big Ham, AKA, what was the other one we came up with because we upgraded him for the new year? Heartbreak Adolescent?
Adolescent or something like that.
Yeah. The Heartbreak Tween.
Oh.
That sounds right.
I'd rather be the Heartbreak Kid. I'd rather be a Heartbreak Infant rather than Heartbreak. Just reminds me of those angsty tween Disney Channel movies. Not even the good ones, the terrible ones.
You're cut about that. You're already listening to My Chemical Romance. Don't worry. When I was a young boy, my father, what was the rest of it? He took me into the city. It's the Black Parade. You remember that? No? Then what? Do you know any other songs, BJ? No? Okay. Missed that train. It's okay. Gerard, the lead singer, Gerard, is now making comic books. Yeah. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going through all this discombobulated stuff. We have to talk about something else that's rather discombobulated, and that's Activision. Now, as you may or may not be aware, Activision had a sales earnings call in which they announced record profits. The company is making more money now than it has ever made in its history, which is why they laid off 800 people. Let's talk about that. I'm gonna go ahead, Sean.
Here's the thing that I want to bring up. This is our fifth episode of the podcast this year? Because we had
I don't know if it's been that many. Let me see. One, maybe fourth, maybe fifth.
No, this has to be our fifth.
Fifth. Oh yeah, we ended on the 26th last year. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, because we have the past year, our predictions for this year. Then we had one where we talked about Activision and Bungie splitting apart, and we talked about the future of Activision and the future of Bungie at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We were just like, oh yeah, this is where Activision will be fine. Activision will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have the record scratch and be like, well, this is where Activision is now. Record revenue. So yeah, 8% of their workforce is now gone. That makes sense.
Which means that we were correct. Activision is fine. It's just, it's selective.
Activision is not fine. Bobby Kotick is fine.
The upper management is fine. Call of Duty as a franchise is fine.
Overwatch as a franchise is fine.
Yeah, we should also say that this includes Blizzard.
Yeah.
Let me see what else. Probably StarCraft. I don't know. They're fine. Is that still a thing?
WoW is probably fine.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, it's selective because everyone else is fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, yeah.
So let's kind of just go around and just see if we can explain this. BJ, I want to start with you because I feel like just because of your day job and just how you've been around this type of environment, that maybe you have the most logical or at least more firsthand knowledge of this type of thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, okay, and I'm going to stop you right there. Let's explain exactly why they're laying off 800 people, or why they have laid off. Okay, fine. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Marketing. Mm-hmm. No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's part of it. I happen to know, and there is already reports that show that that is not even most of it. Um, what happened from what it has been reported, specifically, the big story, the main source of this story was Jason Schreier over at Kotaku, and it seems like, and what this is even what they told their investors. So unless they're lying to them, um, according to them, what happened was that despite their record profits, they had projected profits higher than that. So technically, they did not meet their projected profits, which were higher than the record profits. Um, I saw. Mhm, mhm. Right. Okay. That makes sense. What you're saying. That is not what Bobby Kotick said on the earnings call to the investors. Quote is that the company would be consolidating and restructuring because they missed expectations for 2018. Uh-huh. And lowered expectations for 2019. Therefore, the company said it would be cutting mainly non-game development departments.
Right. And one of the things that is sad about the gaming industry is the fact that a lot of a lot of the resources, all of the manpower in these gaming roles are you come in, you finish everything up,
Mm-hmm.
and once you're done, you're out. That's why a lot of people are pushing for unionization in gaming is because
Mm-hmm.
of the way that a lot of gaming is handled. It's you come in,
And I want, and by the way,
contract.
I want to get into that, but mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think there's something very important that people need to understand about video games that that's both probably gonna make gamers sad, but it'll also make publishers and developers also kind of sad. Something that gamers seem to need to understand is that games like Call of Duty and Battlefield and all these like big titles and everything, even if they have an off year, like for example this past year was for Battlefield, um, they still sell way more than enough copies typically to make a profit. Now, whether or not it was the amount of profit that they're expecting is another question, but it can. Like marketing, for example. Yeah, that's that's true. But the thing is, though, is that the reason why these games sell is, and this is the one where this is probably not going to make a lot of gamers happy. It's because the game is successful not because of its quality, and that's unfortunate. Because a game is good doesn't mean that it's going to sell well. Even if you can say, well, there's this one game that at first wasn't selling well, but then word of mouth got around and then it sold a lot more. And now it became profitable. Psychonauts, for example, was a failure when it released, but now it's sold over, I think, 1 million or 2 copies because of word of mouth. Word of mouth is technically marketing. It's guerrilla marketing. And it's done essentially by the consumers to let people know that. If a good game comes out and it's good, but nobody talks about it, it's not going to magically start selling. And that's the problem with that. So just because people know about Call of Duty and Battlefield and Battlefront and all these games, that's why they're selling. It has nothing to do with quality. Now, the other thing, though, is that's the exact same reason why these type of games can still have off years and can actually kind of tank in some ways. Because same way you can have a lot of bad press from a Reddit post or people complaining online. And even if the average person who doesn't go to those kind of threads, you're just everyday person who just buys Call of Duty and Madden or whatever every year, doesn't read that kind of stuff, there's plenty enough gamers who do hear that, and that audience also is growing with the advent of social media and Facebook and Twitter and all that, that if you piss off a fan base enough, they will tank your game or at least take off a substantial margin of your profits as a result.
Yep. That's what happened with Battlefront 2. That's the biggest example, but yeah.
In other words, there isn't this, you're not as rock solid as everyone thinks in the game publishing sphere. EA has had to learn that lesson the hard way, because even though it made 5 or 6 million units sold, Battlefield is probably gonna not look good once the year financials are over.
Oh yeah, they've already said that its numbers are way lower than what they projected, which is another thing. What were you projecting, and why?
And regardless of what the quality is of Anthem, because right now it seems like it's got problems and there's things wrong with it, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. But just the bad word of mouth, just from the company itself, is tanking Anthem, or at least taking a big chunk of their profits out of that as well. We don't know the numbers for Anthem quite yet.
Yeah,
but that's going to affect it as well. And the sort of like too big to fail thing isn't actually a thing. And that's something that we're now starting to see, since actually not just Activision and Electronic Arts, but a lot of companies are coming out and saying in this fourth quarter that, we are going to have to lay off people, or we're not going to make our projections, despite the fact that, video games are selling more than ever.
And it's also another thing that you have to consider, where a huge part of a lot of gaming companies' profits come from are not just the games, but also the microtransactions and the other things that they have going in to supplement those games. Mm-hmm. So, you think about Overwatch, for example. I'm going to bring that in. Overwatch has probably sold a lot of copies, but where they're getting that constant revenue coming in is through the loot boxes, through the microtransactions. And Activision did another stupid thing where they added those loot boxes and microtransactions to Call of Duty 4, Black Ops 4.
Yeah.
Where they, crammed more into that. That was another batch of bad press. Activision is not having a good day. That's long story short. But whenever I take a look at it, because I was reading the story about, their sales projections are going to be lower in 2019. And how many games did they release last year?
I know the year before this past year was 3. I think this past year was also 3. Call of Duty, Destiny 2, Spyro.
Yeah. So this year they have 2 that they've announced. Correct me if I'm wrong. Unless they're doing unless they're publishing the Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, or
they are.
Okay. They're publishing.
Technically, they have 2 games announced, but that's Sekiro and the Crash Team Racing, and that's it. But we all know Call of Duty will come, so there's 3.
Yeah. So if you look at, I'm going to use last year's as an example. So Call of Duty had microtransactions in it. No matter what, it was still going to have DLC and stuff like that in it. And Destiny 2, one of the big things about Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 were the expansion packs, the DLC that you were getting with that. So that's probably what they were using to kind of make more of their profits this year, is getting more expansions and more DLC for Destiny 2. Because for Shadows Die Twice, you can't really do too much DLC for that type of game. You can, and it's been done, but it's not a more constant revenue flow like your Call of Duties or your Battlefields or your more loot box and DLC centric games. And then you have, Crash Team Racing, which I don't think they would ever do paid DLC for. They had the free DLC for the Crash Insane Trilogy, and then they have Spyro Trilogy, which they've not done anything for yet. I don't know what they could do, but
I mean, there's been updates that's added cheat codes, but that's it.
Yeah, but looking at their projections, if you're looking at, okay, where is Activision going to be making a lot of its money? You've got, if we're just looking at Activision, they've got 2 games. Okay, we're going to say 3 games because we know Call of Duty is coming out this year. There's no way that it's not. You have 2 of them that have constant revenue flow. You potentially have a 3rd constant revenue flow that's being cut off with the Destiny 2 being out of Activision's hands. You might have Call of Duty keep on flowing money through, but then again, with the with the loot boxes going in, it kind of shows me that Activision is desperate for those microtransactions. And I don't know how many gamers are going to buy into that. But you just don't have as much revenue flowing in that you would normally see. And I think Activision's scared right now. This shows with the introduction of loot boxes in Call of Duty 4 and the layoffs, and with their sales projections saying we're going to be selling less, I think Activision is honestly scared right now. But gotta keep the CEO happy.
The problem, investors.
Yeah.
The CEO's got his golden parachute. He'll be good as long as the investors don't want him out.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. But the problem with Activision is they're the second biggest video game company in the world, behind only Electronic Arts, and even that's a little debatable. And somehow they make 3 games a year. They have almost 10,000 employees and making 3 games.
Yes, because the new model in gaming is not to have to make a game every single year in order to make your profit. That's ultimately the goal, because we've seen it with a lot of the big name games. A lot of the games that make money hand over foot are games that they make once, and they have something in it that either sustains the community or continues to add content to it so that the community, stays happy, or just freaking has enough microtransactions that it keeps it lively enough for the community to keep fun, pulling money into it.
Yeah.
And because the big example of that, of course, is Overwatch or anything that has Rockstar in the name online. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's just a constant source of money.
Grand Theft Auto 5 online, Red Dead Redemption 2 online is.
It just started.
Not doing as great.
It just started. It literally. I think it still says beta online beta. Yeah. It doesn't say. Yeah. Because it doesn't really have. It just started. It doesn't really have the content in it quite yet. Yeah. So they're probably still even trying to figure out how they're going to do the microtransaction-y stuff and the seasons and events and stuff that they want to do in it. Because once they get that rolling, I bet there'll be definitely not as much as Grand Theft Auto, but there'll be a decent source for that.
Red Dead Redemption 2 online has a battle royale mode already.
Yeah, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that Red Dead Online isn't going to be as successful, just mainly because the game itself. Mm-hmm. In gamers' eyes is, mixed. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's mixed enough for people to enjoy it, but they're side-eyeing it like, I don't know. Yeah. Whereas when it was with Grand Theft Auto, it's just like, woo!
I agree with you, but it's like I said, the amount of money that something makes isn't necessarily due to its quality.
Right. Dude, there's tons of quality in whether it's Battlefield or heck, there's tons of quality in Anthem. There's issues with it, but there's a lot that's good with it. It's like you said, it's hard to look throughout the pantheon of games that have come out and say that a game is trash. In terms of like technically speaking, this game does not work. I can't shoot, I can't jump. I go over here. This button doesn't work. This animation always messes up over, that kind of thing. Most games out there.
Forgotten about Steam Greenlight or whatever the hell they're calling it now.
Well, that's unreleased games. That's different. I'm talking about released games, games that are done. There's very few games that are considered done where that's the case.
Again, I would still point you to Steam. There's some that's in their 1.0 and they're not working, but
I said very few. I didn't say there weren't any. I said there are very few. Especially with your major games, like almost all of your major games that are out there, they're good.
I'm being a little facetious, but in terms of like your AAA publisher or even like AA or A publisher, But in terms of companies like that actually have the money, it's not just some dude in his room trying to program a game. You're mostly right. The first thing that comes to mind to me is Fallout 76, is Assassin's Creed Unity. So like this does somewhat occasionally happen still. But for the most part, I would say like the amount of games that would come out from a major publisher back in the 90s that was like just crap and didn't work was higher than it is now.
Right. That's basically all I'm trying. It's a general statement. It definitely doesn't cover everything. But for the most part, most of the games that come out that are big name games, they work. They're pretty good.
They work.
Yeah. They're not necessarily horrible games. Like I said, most of the major games out there, I would find it hard pressed to see any one of the major publishers or even like you said if not games that are like 2s getting 2s in review scores from all critics and users, and players. You know what I mean? I seriously doubt you're gonna see that.
I press the button, Mario shoots firefall, bada bing, bada boom, we're good.
Exactly. As long as Mario spits fire, I'm good.
I would argue the good part, but I would be like, well, it functions.
No, see, and that's what I'm trying to say. The good part of it is opinion based. I'm not talking about opinion. I'm talking about just in terms of the game works. If you look at it from top to bottom and say, okay, this game is fine. It's just whether or not you have fun with it or not as to whether or not you're going to be like, this game sucks or this game is good.
I will agree with that for the most part. Fallout 76 and Assassin's Creed Unity notwithstanding, I will agree with that.
Right. There's quality in those games. Now, whether or not they're fun to somebody is, it's just based on the person.
Okay.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Again, I'm gonna mostly agree with that. There
are
some things
it's definitely just an umbrella.
Really bad, not opinion based at all.
Right.
I can throw some ideas out there with you. But yes, for the most part, absolutely.
Yeah, it's strictly an umbrella statement. Umbrella.
Yeah. Sure.
But again, when it, like I was saying, with the whole Activision and the thing that I think is interesting about the state of video games, and since I don't have the time myself to actually learn how to code and learn how to use an engine and develop the game ideas that I have in my head, I frequently have to read a lot of the blogs and stuff from like Gama Sutra, and every once in a while there'll be some of the developers that I know of that are on Twitter that'll talk about their experiences and stuff like that. And for a time there, one of the things I'd say maybe a decade ago, there was a point where it seemed as if the amount of time that developers were spending developing a game, you look at like freaking Grand Theft Auto taking, how many years did that take? It took like,
which one?
The last one, 5. That took like 6 or 7
years?
Yeah, 5 or that's a insanely long amount of time to spend on the development of one project, and the amount of man hours that it took for the voice acting, the graphics, the testing, the QA, the marketing, the amount of manpower for all that is freaking astronomical. So it was almost like, this has to be one of the best freaking games ever, and we got to make a crap ton of money out of it. So what are we going to do to make this thing more than just a freaking single player game? So in the development of their single player game, Rockstar, they freaking have it. Whatever that formula or chemistry is, they have it. And all their analytical people and the people that plan all that stuff, they look at it and they're like, and they knew. And if I remember this correctly, which one was the one that they first started doing microtransactions on their online portion of it? Was it 3?
Max Payne 3?
Was it 3? Oh, no, Max Payne 3 did have its online, but did it have microtransactions in it though? I don't know if it did. It may have.
I know it had an online pass.
Right, because I know the first Red Dead had an online aspect of it, but I don't remember it having microtransactions.
I don't think that had microtransactions.
Right, so you might be right. It might have been Max Payne 3, because I know they had an online portion of it, but I can't remember if it had anything to pay.
Yeah, that was back when Rockstar was actually releasing one game a year.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 4 had online, right? Did 4 have online?
Microtransactions were not even a thing yet.
Right, it just had DLC for 4. I remember that you paid for.
Yeah, and even that was technically barely DLC because it became a standalone.
Right, yeah. So it really didn't hit full bore, hey, we're making money hand over fist for a long time until 5 online. Technically, right? Is that right?
I want to say yes.
I'm trying to think. Okay, let me see. There was nothing for LA Noire.
Right. There was 0 for that. And that was that was almost a bomb, wasn't it? Was that even a bomb for them?
I think it was. LA Noire? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a bomb for them in terms of like sales.
Yeah, it didn't meet expectations. I'm pretty sure.
I have to imagine that with the re-releases, though, that they eventually made their money back.
I know. Well, maybe. I make their money back, yeah, sure. But in terms of Rockstar, the mega star of the gaming industry with releases, that for them, technically speaking, that was a bomb. You know.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's a good game.
Right. It was a good game, but
the ending sucks. The ending sucks.
I just couldn't get over the open world mechanics of it. It just didn't to me, the open world mechanic of it just didn't make sense for the good story mode progression. You know, doing the actual casework and stuff. The open worldy portion of it just felt like it was there. It was like it didn't really have as much of a purpose. Sure. Yeah. And I got bored with it because of that. I was like, oh, I got to go run after another dude for 5 blocks to tackle him.
I will say I probably get more out of it because, like, you know, I know it's supposed to be LA in the 50s, but to be perfectly honest, Los Angeles is not that much different nowadays from that game. So, like,
right, and they put
like I knew how to drive around. I knew where the streets are and everything.
They put a ton of time and resources and research into making that as accurate as possible geographically and historically.
There's a couple of things that have been moved around because they couldn't get the licenses, but
right, yeah, there's stuff that they have to do because of that, but still they make it about as true to life as they can make it, and that takes an insane amount of work.
But tangent, but I'm still trying to think because, like, okay, because that
has to be the one.
To say that Grand Theft Auto 5 was the first one.
That has to be the one because I can't remember. Because I know for certain, even if they did have Max Payne 3 online with microtransactions, they didn't make that much money with it. You know what I mean? I loved Max Payne 3, but it wasn't like a blockbuster.
Oh,
hit.
I know. I got it on my shelf right now. But
yeah.
Okay, let me see, because it's like what we said. Rockstar started releasing one game a year, and that started in 2008. That was Grand Theft Auto 4. Then 2009 was Midnight Club Los Angeles. Then 2010 was Red Dead Redemption. 2011 was LA Noire?
Maybe.
Then 2012 was Max Payne 3.
And 2013 was Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
And then they didn't release another game until
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red Dead 2.
Does that sound right?
Sure.
Okay. Well, the point is okay, like that's true, you know, and I can't blame any publisher for wanting to have something like Grand Theft Auto 5, where you release a game and it constantly feeds you money at all times. You know, the live service, right? That's the key word for everyone, right? You want
a service. You don't want to. Almost like they were trying to do with the consoles themselves. Hey, we're just going to release one console that's going to last for a decade.
Yeah, and they almost worked. I get that you would want that, and that's fine. But the problem, though, is that if you have a game as a service, you can do that once, maybe twice. And if you're going to do it a second time, it's got to be some sort of game that's different. Otherwise, it's going to be too similar to the other game that you have as a game as a service, and it's going to cannibalize it.
Yep.
So when you try to make all your fucking games as services, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Are we talking about Activision or are we talking about Ubisoft here?
Both.
Yeah, it's kind of ballooned into the industry,
Ubisoft, but they did the same thing. So, I mean, they constantly keep on trying to turn Call of Duty into a games as a service, despite the fact that it's $60.
Which honestly they should. Honestly, I think that's the model that they should have taken Call of Duty in the first place. But the thing is they have a community that.
I will say one thing. Now that they don't have Destiny 2 anymore, now at least it won't be cannibalizing that, because quite frankly, Destiny 2 and Call of Duty isn't different enough for those two to have coexisted with each other.
Yeah.
When you have a game as a service where you're constantly having to put a whole bunch of money into it, those games have to be significantly different. I'm saying they have to be in a different genre They have to be that different because it's going to get expensive, and people aren't going to pay for that because they don't have the money.
Well, see, here's the thing. Anytime you've got a game, regardless of what genre the game is, it's got its own community. Mm-hmm. You got your hardcore community, your casual community, and then your fringe, right? That's with any game. When you got a game that's a service, and I don't think any game company has figured this out yet. You're trying to figure out who you're really going to cater to when your game is past that first 3 to 6 months of release. Mm-hmm. That first 3 months is everybody. Yay, we're the hot ticket on the market. This is where a majority of our game sales are. That's the window that they push hard everything. After that 3 months, that's when it kind of dips into like your core community is pretty much past that 3 months. So
and I think the one that you care about because that's the one that's still making you money.
No, that's not what that's not what the company cares about. And that it's very, very clear because a lot of the stuff that they try to do is to not only keep the core, but they want to bring back all those other fringe people from the 3 months, and they want to add to it. They feel like their core they have, regardless of what they do, because the game's already there. They already have the core spending money regularly. So the stuff that they add and do after that point, they aren't worried about for the core. They're worried about to bring more people in to sustain and bring additional users. Because they feel like the core users are going to be there regardless, as long as they just don't muck it up. So the stuff they're providing, and this is just my opinion, the stuff they're providing isn't to keep the core, it's to broaden whoever is supposed to be in that core and bring more users in. That's what they're trying to do.
I agree with what you're saying.
It's not what happens, though.
That's not what they do, though.
Right, because they haven't figured out what that it is in order to broaden the base. That's what they're trying to do, but I don't think any company has figured out what that it is. You know what I mean? And I think that's huge, and a big, huge evidence of that, even though I know we're talking Activision, is Destiny. Destiny is the prime example of that. You know, because, I mean, Destiny 2 was great. They learned from their mistakes. They listened to their user base. They listened to their casual fans.
My understanding from Destiny 2 is that everyone liked the second expansion of Destiny 1, the Taken King, that fixed everything. And then when they got Destiny 2, it was like it was all broken again. And then they got
Destiny 2
Forsaken or whatever it was called recently, and that fixed everything again. And then
no. With Destiny 2, basically brought back a lot of the people that they lost in Destiny 1. Because again, their core fans that bought Taken King and were happy with all the changes they made in Taken King were going to buy Destiny 2 regardless. They already had their core. It was the people that they lost that they had to figure out how to bring back. And with Destiny 2, at the beginning, they did that. They made it so, you know, because I was one of those people that bought the original Destiny, was, you know, disillusioned with, you know, all the power and the light and all other crap. I got tired of them changing so much, didn't buy any of the DLC, and just waited for them to get it all worked out. And then they said, hey, guess what? Destiny 2, we've got it all worked out. Bought Destiny 2, I was happy with it. Hey, this solved all the issues that I had with Destiny 1. I might play this a bit longer, right? And for me, it just got to a point where I learned that, you know, the whole Destiny model is not something that is for me because I can't do raids. And when you can't do raids, you know, as a casual player, when you can't do raids, there's little reason for you to continue playing it. That doesn't mean that I didn't like what I played, because I played it through the story. It's just the in-game content essentially just isn't for the casual player. That's when it goes back to the core, you know, back to whoever their core community is.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That's what I think I'm getting at, though. I think what they want to do and what they're trying, at least what the publisher is trying to tell the developers to do, is appeal to a broader audience so that we can get more people in and they'll be spending money.
Yes.
The developers, however, end up not understanding that or not knowing how to do that, and then they end up making something that ends up disappealing to the core because
that's their community. You can't lose that.
Casuals don't come back.
Right. Because that's where the disconnect is.
The only way you can bring them back in is if you're like, it's a sequel, so it'll be different. And it's not.
Right. That's the difficulty with with a gaming community. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't even want to say the higher ups, but that's basically all a publisher kind of is. You know, once you get at that level and you're looking at just the numbers and everything, all you're looking at is, we want more people on there. Give us something so we can get more people. The developers are like, but we're over here treading water just trying to keep the people that we have. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of energy, as you see with like Overwatch, and it takes a lot of energy and effort to add the content just to keep the core interested.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing that publishers don't seem to understand. This is what I was mentioning before. If you piss off the people that are your fans or are excited for this, they can get enough of a movement together to not maybe tank your game, but take out a significant portion of it. And you're going to feel it. Reddit posts, bad campaigns online, all that kind of stuff. There is strong enough power there for them to do it. And that's what Activision or Electronic Arts learned the hard way with Battlefront 2. Now, just to kind of put a pin into this, because I want to get to the whole point of this, which is the fact that 800 people are out of a job, is that just to put a pin in this, is that I don't blame a company for wanting to have the service as a game. I think you should only have one, maybe two of those, because otherwise you're just going to cannibalize yourself. But I understand why you'd want to have to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that model. That model, it works. It's good. There's games that it caters to, and that could work to some extent. I honestly wish, as a fighting game fan, that there was some type of model that wasn't bullshit that was like that. Because I remember back in the 90s when they would release a brand new fucking game for what was essentially just an update. Here's Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. Okay, $60. Oh, here's Hyper Fighting. We made things faster and we changed the colors. Give me more money. Fine. Here's Super Street Fighter 2. We added 4 more characters, but also made it slower again. Fine. Give me the money. I prefer that there just be updates that I can buy in characters and all that. The problem with it, though, is that I feel like it's overpriced. And I know why it is, because it actually takes a lot of money to make characters and all that. But I think you have to think
balancing balancing QA,
QA, the design and all that. So that's why they're so expensive. I understand that, but I think you have to think long term and think more that people are going to constantly be buying these, and people will want to buy them more if they're a little cheaper. So maybe take a hit and just, trust that you'll recuperate that from getting more people to buy it.
Well, that's the thing. They have to have the way that the way that mindset works when it comes to business is, where's your proof? Because they're not going to take the risk unless they have something that they can look at and say, oh, that's the model.
Well, for most. I can tell you that what they're currently doing doesn't work. I have proof of that. Street Fighter 5. The hardcore will buy the characters and the skins and all that, but when your hardcore is a base of maybe 1 million, you're not making that much money.
Yes. The thing is, and this is the weird, and I kind of see this from both sides of it. The weird thing, and this is just with the fighting game genre as a thing. When it comes to fighting games, it seems like a very large risk to release your core game with all, with however many fighters you said you're going to have, and then say that we're going to make this game a service and that we're going to axe out another same amount of number of fighters in the future, that are gonna not disrupt the balance of what the base characters have already provide the game. Because you know yourself, Esteban, anytime you got a fighting game, all it takes is one character with one or two combos that all the other characters just can't seem to get past or whatever, and all of a sudden the balance of the game is shit. And everybody just wants to use that one character because of that. Well, and then all of a sudden, they have to, the balance can easily be thrown off like that. And sometimes that can be changed, but that's not always the case, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I will say one thing. Number one, that's a bit of an exaggeration.
It kind of feels like it, though, right?
The reason is,
here's
what people don't take into account. Every single time a brand new character is released, a brand new DLC character, they are the best character in the game. And the reason why is because nobody knows how to play against them yet.
Right. You don't know.
Okay. And then everyone else learns some stuff, and they're like, oh, this is good. I'm just going to keep doing this. And then no one knows what to do about it. Eventually, people will figure that out, and then that character becomes shit. That's the other part that you don't see. Then more time comes on, people learn more tech, and then eventually things balance out, even before there's any patches. Usually, the only thing you have to worry about is if the character is straight up broken. Like and sometimes that can even happen with the core game. Soul Calibur 6, when it came out, Maxi was broken. Like, he had literally a broken hitbox. He had the same range as Nightmare. And I don't have to go into fancy fighting game lingo to explain why that's wrong. Nightmare has this huge ass freaking sword,
right?
And Maxi has nunchucks. So he go like this, and he's hitting people way over there. It was literally that's not a broken character. That's a glitch.
Right.
Right. Things like that happen.
Right.
And then they get patched, and then it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, there will be a fighter that comes out and they realize they're too good. Now, something like Street Fighter V is, in my opinion, in the opinion of a lot of people, the wrong model of how to fix that, which is everyone gets nerfed in order to balance it. This is why Street Fighter V is boring, in my opinion, because nobody can do cool things. See, when a new character comes out and they're so good, normally I would argue that's a good thing, because then a normal fighting game would take that and be like, well, that means we have to give everyone else something cool that they can do. So it's an escalation of, oh, well, you got a bazooka, well, I got
it's an arms race. Too. Yeah, it's an arms race.
Yeah, it's an arms race, and I'd rather have it that way because it just makes the game more fun.
What you're talking about, and talking about the whole fighting game genre, and this may be because it's on my mind, but it almost reminds me of Overwatch. Because
that's kind of what I was. Yeah, that's kind of what I was.
Overwatch releases new characters pretty regularly. New characters, new maps, and it is for free, and that's one thing I'm perfectly okay with. And they are getting ready to release this new character. And this is their 30th character. It started out with, I think, 21. And so they've released so many new characters, and they go in there, they test this out. They'll be like, okay, how can we break this character? They put it on their public server to where people can go in there, test it out, figure out, okay, how is all this going to work, build up hype for it. And then just like you say, Esteban, I noticed this too, where anytime a new character gets released, of course, everybody wants to play that new character because it's the new hot shit.
Right.
And then, finally people be like, okay, this is your counter. So, it's like, this is what you do to counter this, or, maybe this character is a better matchup. And then the hype really dies down, and you get people who are more along the lines of, that are more in tune with it. And then it's very rare that you'll have and they do tweaks here and there. Like the newest update that they're coming out with does a lot of tweaking to different characters in terms of how much damage they do, what their range is, what their cooldown timers are. And instead of nerfing literally everybody, they go in and be like, okay, this is what we can tweak. This is the little minor odds and ends we can do. And that's what keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
I read an article from Polygon, I think, that was talking about the new meta for Overwatch, where, you know, it's a good meta. It works, and all the competitive scene are using it, where it's 3 healers, 3 tanks, the 3-3. But it's boring to watch because it's all, you know, you drain a little bit, you heal it back. You drain a little bit, you heal it back, and it's boring to watch. And what they're doing with the new character would be like, okay, this is how you stop it. This is a character where it's just like, okay, here's a character where you can go in and finish that. And there's actually one of the Overwatch League competitive teams are going with a strategy that is aimed to just dismantling it. So while it is boring right now, if the game is good, if they know what they're doing, if they put a lot of work into it with those constant updates and everything, yeah, they can make it to where it's more interesting to watch. And, you know, Overwatch has their own Overwatch League.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Like the reason why, like you said, BJ, it's an arms race. See, the problem with Street Fighter V is that it was making it was so scared of making everything balanced that it became boring. That's not a fun game. What you want to do is make it enjoyable, and it's not a threat then when you add a new character, because then that's a new character that you can go up against. That's the other way you have to look at it too. That makes things interesting. That makes things fun. That's what's worth it. Even if you don't play that character, you have a new opponent now.
Right. Yeah, that's the whole intent of keeping things fresh and making it a service.
And specifically to keep things fun.
Yes, definitely. Keep
Not
things
balanced, fun. That's a mistake that Street Fighter V made. But
yes. But yeah, that's the you know, that's essentially the model that, like we were saying before, that's the model that everyone's aiming for with all the different genres that they specialize in. And that seems to be, you know, the magic potion that everybody, right or wrong, is trying to stir up. And some are doing better than others. And because of that, it seems like, you know, with Fortnite, I mean, it's like you see the massive amount of success that Fortnite all of a sudden jumps upon after borrowing the formula that a whole nother company, you know, I don't want to say they invented it, because they didn't really invent it, but they became famous for.
It was a mod for both Minecraft and Arma 2.
Yeah.
And then PUBG spawned from the Arma 2 mod. And then that's where it became popular. And by the way, I looked it up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia has deemed it a battle royale genre, not a battle royale mode.
Right. Wrong. And Wikipedia is open, and anyone can edit that. So whatever.
What?
Well, anyway, the point is, though, is
what came in the mail.
the way that these games are coming out, I understand why they would want to do that, and I can't blame Activision for wanting to make this, you know, games for service thing. And you know, you absolutely should probably have at least one of those games in your portfolio. But you can't base everything around that, because when you have something like what happens now, where you only have 3 games to work with, so of course probably something's gonna go down the line, or something cannot sell well, or you know, something could go wrong, and you have no exit strategy. You have no backup. So when you have something like a model like that, it's going to topple at some point. To me, that screams, as well as with projections that are, you know, just unreasonable, that screams mismanagement.
Well, I think that circles back to what we've really been trying to get to with the whole topic in the first place. It's difficult. It's easy to say mismanagement now because of the result. But my whole argument with that is because of the fact that the gaming industry is so, in terms of what gamers respond to, is flimsy to begin with. Mm-hmm. The people that are making the projections and looking to the future are having a hard time doing the forecasts. In a way that's
not just the mismanagement of the sales department. It's also the mismanagement of the people greenlighting.
No, it's not. That's not even what I'm talking about. When you talk forecast and everything, what they do is not only project what your sales are going to be, they project what you're going to need in order to handle everything that you're looking to the future to be able to do. So you already know, okay, we're starting development on Project Dolphin today. Project Dolphin's not going to be ready for another 5 years. Right now, we've got Blizzard doing this. We've got Bungie doing our moneymaker. And as long as our moneymaker hits boom, then we can continue to fund Project Dolphin until it gets to the point where it's making money. So they're shifting money around, but if certain games don't hit their targets, then those pots that they already have to sustain the people that are already working on their money makers and aren't going to be able to fund the ones that aren't making money. And that's basically what they're doing. They're like, okay, we need...
You're saying Project X is in development. This moneymaker is pretty much funding it, and so Project X can keep going as long as the money makers
hit a certain target.
There should be multiple money makers.
You can't Activision has it. They have 3
games.
Activision has a franchise in Call of Duty that has multiple games. Yes. Okay, now the thing is that Call of Duty, and what they've always banked on, is that Call of Duty regularly sets sales records, correct? Plus, they usually get a decent amount of money from DLC and or microtransactions, right? And they've got 3 different developers at any given time working on that franchise. So, and like you said, every year they're dropping one, but it's only one game for 3 developers. That's not one developer making one game every year. That's 3 developers making one game every 3 years. So that means every given year, you still got 2 other developers that are still working on 2 other games that aren't going to come out for a while, on top of Project Dolphin. So that means if they're trying, depending on how they do their bucket, that Call of Duty bucket is a lot slimmer than a lot of people probably give it credit for, because instead of one developer, you've got 3 developers. Right.
Here's the thing, though.
That engine is old, but it's like, who cares?
Call of Duty does not cost a lot of money to make compared to your other AAA titles. I would say that Battlefield costs a lot more to make than Call of Duty.
It does.
I would even probably say maybe even Assassin's Creed costs more to make than Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is a linear game with maps that are small comparatively, whereas Assassin's Creed is an open world game, and they typically have, at least they used to have their own multiplayer as well.
Right. Yes. But that still does not mean that the amount of man hours that it takes to actually do each one of those games and promote and market them isn't as big. Just because they have the formula doesn't mean that what they spend in order to make it quality. And you have to admit, when it comes to quality and the amount of stuff that they give you in a Call of Duty game is a lot more than your run-of-the-mill Battlefield game or Battlefront game. They give you a ton of modes, a ton of characters, a ton of options. They give you a lot every single game. So there's a lot of money that still goes in there, even though there is still that regular formula. You know what I mean? So there's still a lot of people that you have to put into that to get that to work and run smooth.
But I will also argue that when it comes to the public, they don't care about that.
course not.
It's just not a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, hey, we're gamers. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, no, actually, the gamers will care because they'll be like, oh, this is the Infinity Warrior, so I'm going to skip it. Or this is the Sledgehammer games, let's see what they do. Oh, it's a Treyarch game, I'll probably pick that up.
Right. Each one of them has their own core fan base.
Yeah.
Which is interesting in and of itself.
Your average person who just, games on, casually, they don't care. They just see Call of Duty and like, all right,
and they'll buy it. Right.
See, and that's the audience that you have to worry about, because if one of them goes down, then the next one's going to go down as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's already happened to them.
No, I'm talking about.
But the point is
box and you said, "Don't open that for your birthday."
When you have a series like that, where
I give it back to mom.
The
to ask her, Jaden.
It's really hard to keep track of this.
I'm listening right now, and I feel like we're jumping a little bit there. So, but bottom line, whenever you don't have as much money going in, when you don't have as much guaranteed cash flow coming in, the risk of having those other smaller games that may not make as much money as the big ones. So your Shadows Die Twice, your Crash Team Racing, your ones that are going to make money but not going to make as much money. They're not going to make loads of money slamming down on your face. The risk of the return on investment in those gets higher. And whenever that risk goes above that certain threshold, whenever that risk goes above that line that they set, that's when you have to consider, okay, we have to cut the rope on that. Our projections that we made don't meet up with that. That means that the risk of return is too much. We have to cut our losses on that one.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing to remember.
Okay.
When was the last time you remember hearing when a Call of Duty game broke sales records when it dropped?
Well, it depends on the record.
Most recent one.
Yeah, it depends on the record, but technically the last one broke some record. It wasn't the best selling or anything, but
right,
it was something.
Right, because and the reason why I say that is when it comes to Call of Duty, they've had, I guess you'd say, a hiatus from being the gold standard for sales within the first 24 to 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, all Call of Duty games end up being the top seller for a month on any platform, just off the top.
Also, they are a consistent seller as well.
Right.
They keep selling throughout the month.
Always. But while that looks good for everybody that isn't Activision, for Activision, they're comparing their sales to their previous Call of Duty game. So if that number, even if it is still number one, if that number is steadily going down compared to the previous Call of Duty game or the one Call of Duty game that was the mammoth, which was probably it was either Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 3, right? That probably
that's the biggest selling.
That's like the biggest one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I 100% guarantee you, all the people that were forecasting and within Activision, they were setting their numbers for the very next Call of Duty game to be higher. Because no forecaster is ever going to look at their product, regardless of what they say they're adding to it, and they say, oh, we're going to lower expectations for this game. They're going to hype. They're always going to say higher, right? Unless there's just 100% something where they're just like, oh, there's no way possible we're ever going to meet what we made last year. They're always going to set the bar higher and say, we're going to hit this goal or we want to hit this goal.
After Modern Warfare 3, sure. Since then, that would be dumb of you to do that, though. Because
exactly. I bet you that's what happened, though. They probably, and we see it all the time.
That's dumb.
But we see this all the time. This happens with any game. We've seen it with Battlefield. They'll set expectations. They'll say, look, we believe in our product. We say this is how much it's going to sell because we know that it's this much better than our previous thing. until the very first couple of weeks of the game comes out and they see the numbers and they have to go back and say, crap, this wasn't as good as it was last year or 5 years ago or whatever they're comparing
whatever
it to.
It is, yeah.
Right. And that's not, it's hard to even say that that's mismanagement. That's being, it's essentially just saying we're being optimistic and saying that our product is going to be better than it was last year.
Okay.
You have confidence in your developer.
When you're Activision and your projections with that you're going to make more than you actually have ever made ever in a company, and you still make that, but just not as much, there's still something wrong with that. You should still be happy from that.
Of course, after the fact, it seems like that. But you can't be, if you're an investor, you're not happy with that. Because, and I know nothing about, dude, that's the stock market. It's gambling.
Yeah, that's the problem, though. And then especially because then the wrong person is getting punished for that.
True. But the investors are already the ones who have put the money in for it. And if their rate of return isn't what they expected, somebody's head rolls. Unfortunately, the heads that roll are the people that do the work rather than the people that make the forecasting and projections.
When you know that the ones that are making the actual product are the ones getting shafted, you should be upset about that.
They don't care.
How are you gonna?
That's not what they're looking at. The reason why they're upset is because they're billionaires. They want their billions to become trillions. If their billions aren't becoming trillions the speed that they want it to, they're mad at the people who told them they were going to get trillions and instead got billions.
The people that told them that are the ones who should be getting punished then.
But that's the thing. How do you punish them?
Pay cut?
I don't think they govern that. They have guaranteed salaries and they have guaranteed...
The CEO can say you're getting a pay cut.
The CEO... I don't think the CEO can say the CEO's getting a pay cut. I think I'm not even certain how that works all the time.
And Nintendo. Everyone was passing that around. That's exactly what he did. He literally took a 50% pay cut when the 3DS didn't sell well, and then again when the Wii U didn't sell well. He absolutely can do that.
Okay, he can, but how many...
He can do whatever he wants.
Yes, he can, but how many CEOs in the history of CEOs have done that?
Well, at least one. But the point is, though, is that...
More than likely a CEO isn't going to do that.
But that's the problem.
And the thing with Nintendo, and you have to remember also that Japanese culture, when it comes to business, is completely different than U.S. business culture. U.S. business culture, we don't have family involved. It's not a pride thing. It's a money thing. It's a capitalism thing.
Also, I'm gonna stop you right there because I could also give you a Japanese example of people doing that. Konami.
Yeah. Konami's
that's not it either.
It seems like it though, because I mean, like I said before, it's hard, even in the tech sector when you've got CEOs that are creating it, it's their baby or whatever. You'll see that as an example with guys that make the app. They recognize that something's going wrong, so they decide, hey, I'm not going to take a salary for this year so that I can pay all my other guys. I've heard little stories like that about CEOs in the tech sector doing that from time to time, right? But up and down the line, you look at the bigger major companies that have been here for years and years and years and years and years. The CEOs there, most of the time, you're not seeing them take pay cuts or whatever. If they make money, that's the money they're making. If they're not performing, they get forced to resign. That's the only way that from what I've heard and what I know of, that's the only way they quote unquote punish them. They either say, look, you hit this number. If you don't hit this number, we will push for you to resign and we'll see if we can get somebody else. But there's huge risk in that too, because if the next person has no idea what they're doing or what they're walking into, the results are going to be even worse. So the investors have that to balance. They look at it, do we want great risk in bringing someone else in, or do we deal with the common denominator that we have right now, the person who knows what we expect but just didn't perform? it's hard to discipline them other than just hold it over their head. You know, it's a rough situation to be in. You know.
Okay.
And every company deals with that.
Okay. Getting rid of all the obvious reasons of why this is morally wrong, because I know we're not dealing with that, because
that's a big part of what people have to remember. Yeah.
Okay. Not dealing with any of that. I still logically see things that tell me if the CEO is not performing, then you get rid of the CEO and you get someone who can.
And how do you determine who is? But that's again. How do you determine if it's someone that can?
The whole point is that you're not making money. What more risk is there going to be? The whole thing you're trying to avoid is not to lose money, and that's already what's happening.
Yes, but again, because anytime you bring in a CEO, that CEO brings in a new culture, brings in a new mindset, brings in a new vision. In order for that mindset, it's kind of like with a coach or something like that. You have to give that coach time for everybody else under him to buy into his vision. If he has a difficult time or quarter or season or something like that, you can't just ask him and then expect for the next coach to come in and instantly win you a championship. That never happens. In order for a company or a team to run smoothly, you bring him in, he explains his vision, he gets everyone else under him to buy into his vision, and once he gets to that point, then you can see the rise and things will start changing. But if he has a dip in that rise, you can't just cut him because everyone underneath has bought into what he's trying to do. And if you shake it up and throw someone else new in, all of a sudden you have to wait for everyone else to buy into the new vision, buy into what he's selling, and that doesn't even always work. You bring in the wrong person, his vision may be something that no one likes. And all of a sudden you've got a horrible culture and nobody's buying into it, and it can get even worse really quick. And a prime example of that is probably Telltale. Nobody bought into that vision. Everything got mad toxic. They started losing all of their talent to the point where all of a sudden it was just, they kept shipping in people, shipping out people, and then just all of a sudden it's like
Did Telltale go through a bunch of CEOs? I thought that was not until the very end.
Well, not necessarily the whole CEO thing, but just in terms of them having a toxic culture, and then because of them having the mismanagement, they kept changing. They changed their vision from saying we're gonna, and you talked about it, Esteban. They changed their vision from making quality story-based games to all of a sudden making 15 story-based games off of licenses and hope that one hit, all based off of the same formula. And it led to a toxic culture. They lost their good talent, and all of a sudden, you can't get it done in the time frame that you're supposed to get it done. And that's the risk you run anytime you bring in a new CEO.
That sounds like what I'm saying, though, Ben. That this is why you would get rid of the CEO. Not because I know you're saying that you bring in a bad one that makes a toxic culture, but
all I'm saying is that there's risk. All I'm saying is that there's risk in bringing in a new CEO, and just because he has a difficult quarter, or a difficult year, or even difficult 2 years, unless you have somebody that you look at and say, "Oh my gosh, I see what his vision is. I can see where 100% that would be better than what we have," then that you're mitigating the risk before you bring that guy in. But with gaming companies, like we've said before, with gaming, it's difficult to see that because it's even difficult for them to forecast.
But here's the thing: how are we calling record profits a difficult quarter?
Because of what they projected.
I know because of the projection.
That's why.
But even with still record profits, it's not like you just look at the projection and then that's the only thing. If it was the only thing, then it's like you said. Then I would just get rid of the CEO.
No.
But you can't be doing that because of the risk. So you have to take that also into consideration. You can't just take the record. Why can't you just also take into consideration that this dude just made record profits?
The dude made record profits. Is the Activision CEO getting axed or whatever? Do we know that yet?
No,
he got a pay raise.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Then that proves the point. That proves the point. They aren't going to get rid of him for that reason. But the thing is he's getting his hand slapped because he still has to answer for what they're going to do in the future.
He's getting his hand slapped. He's getting a pay raise.
He's getting an earful from the investors. That's why they had to change. And what we see from the outside has nothing. We don't see from the outside what's really going on the inside. Sure, he could be making money right now. He could be making more money than he was making right now. But the investors probably pulled him in and said, "Look, if we have another earnings call where you tell us you're going to make this and you make like 30 to 40% less than what you told us that you were going to make, we're going to have a problem." I 100% guarantee you that's the conversation he's having with his investors. Because like I said, money talks. If you promise them a certain amount of return and you're not delivering, it doesn't matter if you're making record amount of profit. You're not making what you told them you were going to make.
You know,
that's the key.
Interesting point, because we know that they didn't make the projections, but I wonder by how much.
That's the key. I don't know. Did they say that? That would be interesting. That would be really interesting to know. But that's the key.
I would like to know that too, because if they missed it by like 1%, then this is like really bullshit.
Right. Then that's nonsensical. But if it's like a large percentage in terms of what they were saying they were going to make and they didn't,
all things considered, this is nonsensical. But
for us outside of it, for us that aren't billionaires or whatever, that aren't investors in billion-dollar companies, of course it's nonsensical. But like I said, when you're dealing with people that invest in multi-million and billion-dollar companies, they only look at their bottom line. They only look at what they expect to make. And if they aren't making what they expect to make, they're upset, regardless of how well your company's doing.
I can understand that. And that's why it makes sense from a business sense.
Right. It makes no sense to us.
What doesn't make sense to me is that if I'm an investor and I invested this money into this company and the company did not meet the projections that I was told, then I would want the person responsible for that to be punished or to be reprimanded or something negative to happen to them. Okay, or several people, whatever, right? The people at the bottom who were developing the game were not responsible for that. Okay, so when they get laid off or anything, not only are 800 people out of a job, and that makes up my money, whatever, but the problem is also not getting solved.
And not only the problem is not getting solved, you're losing good talent.
You're losing talent.
That you can't. Well, it's not that you can't replace it, but they know your culture, they know your technology, they know your company, and you lose that time frame of bringing new people into the fold, that kind of thing. And it's also a PR hit, as you see with what we're talking about. It's a huge PR hit anytime a company has to lay off people, and this is even worse.
Other things that should be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Anytime
it doesn't seem like it is.
No, it never is. PR hits are something that are momentary because, again, you're talking about investors. No,
they are not. As I've been saying, if you piss off your base enough, you can get enough of a following that they will take a significant portion out of your profit because you have bad PR.
Yes, but
publishers are not understanding.
Right, but the thing I'm trying to remind you though is, when you're talking investors are looking, for the most part, for the long haul. Most of the time, they aren't looking for each quarter.
We started long haul.
Yeah, their thing is they're looking on the long haul. So they're, because it's the stock market. Most of the time, certain companies. No. Most of the time, your investors that are on the board, they aren't looking to completely dump all the shares of your company because they have a vested interest in your company and they want to form the direction that your company goes in, which is why they're on the board in the first place. right? They have a vested interest on what you decide to do and which direction you decide to go in, right? So they aren't looking for just that quarter. If it's a bad quarter, okay, they're upset, but they want to know how you're going to fix it, how we're going to remedy this, how it's going to change going forward. So like I said, they're looking long term. This is what are you doing?
How do we make more money than last year?
Ding. How do we boom boom? How we boom boom boom?
Then you would take something like these PR things and losing talent a lot more seriously, because it may give you an extra kick right now, but in the long term, that's going to hurt you, because that's somebody on the company that would have had much more experience and much more talent on your company and more invested in your company later on, that is now going to be replaced with someone with less experience overall. Then you also have the PR thing that's going to start lasting longer, which before used to not be as much of a thing. We all remember the whole let's boycott Modern Warfare or whatever, and then people on Steam who were boycotting it were also the same people playing it. But that's not the case anymore. People online have gotten it organized enough, and social media has become much more of a stronger presence now, that when someone's pissed off at you, they remember it, and it affects your future projects.
Yeah, but you also recognize that has slowly become a thing recently. When it comes to large companies, their mindset isn't always worrying too much about PR hits, because they're more insulated than smaller companies to deal with it. So if they make a decision to cut that many jobs, they recognize there's going to be a PR hit. But because they're a large company, I'm not saying that they are immune to it, but they're able to take it because they're a large company, because they've got other things that they can do to restore faith, to bring gamers back. They have a plan to do that. And we see that in action with EA. They've taken a large hit from a number of their franchises, but you see concerted efforts where they're trying to do something in order to bring those communities back. And they can do that because they're a large company.
That's actually my example.
That's your example, but the point is EA is still there. They're a large company. The only time they're still the largest, right?
Electronic Arts will be here for a long time.
Exactly. They're still the largest. My thing is if they were a smaller company, they'd be gone. But they're not. They're still here. That's why
the biggest video game company of them all. And I think they're at risk at that, because
of course
their bad PR is hurting them so much that let's be honest, okay? Regardless of whether or not Anthem was a good game or not, it wasn't going to do well because of the PR that's bad around Electronic Arts.
Right.
Even when they released a game that everyone likes, Apex Legends, they already came out and said, even though this is selling well, it's not going to save us. They've already come out and said that.
Right.
It's still not good enough. And it's because the whole thing where they put all their money in, because of how bad the PR can get for them, is making them lose money. It doesn't even matter if they make a good game at this point. They did, and it's not mattering. What I'm saying is
that's probably not even going to save the company. The foundation of their money is in their sports games. Let's be real. Yeah. FIFA and Madden. FIFA and Madden. Sure. That's like
I'll tell you one thing.
You're
foundation. Not the number one video game company in the world off of FIFA and Madden.
Why wouldn't you be? FIFA is a worldwide.
Neither of those franchises are relevant in the video game industry, which means you lose relevance.
How is that not relevant? FIFA is one of the largest selling games and has one of the largest communities in the gaming community.
The video game journalism and video gamers as a fan base does not pay attention to those.
They don't have to. They have the soccer fans to back it.
Relevance. That's what I'm saying. What's the matter of the relevance? That's the relevance.
What do you mean by relevance?
I don't know if you understand this, but I'm going to give you a music example. You know Kelly Clarkson?
Yes.
She's not relevant anymore, but her albums still sell like crazy.
Right. That's all she needs. As long as her music sells, then who cares about the relevance? If you're selling more,
irrelevant, I'm telling you.
Well, that's my I think it's kind of missing.
In other words, she's no longer like the next big thing. She's not hit. She's not hip. She's not like on everyone's tongue. The way
she doesn't have the buzz.
Or stuff like that.
She doesn't need the buzz because she already has her core fan base. She already has, and her core fan base is already more than even the people that quote unquote have buzz. Well, that's what I mean by not needing.
Sell that well.
I'm just using that as an example.
But that's the example. That's what I'm saying. She does sell extremely well, but that's what I mean by relevance. She's no longer the hip thing and everything like that. If EA were to transform into a FIFA Madden company, they are not going to be getting features on IGN. They're not going to be getting covered by streamers. That's just not going to happen. The only way they're going to get coverage is by people who specify that stuff. The specific streamers of FIFA and Madden and the Madden Cup that they hold and everything like that. You know, they're going to turn into that company that makes the sports games and nothing else. And then their core audience will be something a little more niche, like your I don't know, like the people who still play Counter-Strike. I don't know.
Right.
Or hell, even to an extent, because I know fighting games aren't that big. Maybe a fighting company.
Right. But my thing is, even with the lack of relevance, if you still got a large community that you know is going to buy your annual game every single year, mostly because you have a corner on that license for that particular sport, which means you not only have gaming fans, but you have fans of the sport. The relevance when it comes to sport, there's not that much you have to worry about in terms of relevance because you have a corner on that market, right? You got a corner on the soccer fans, which is the biggest sport in the world. So you got a corner on that market. So that is like money hand over foot. You don't even, you barely have to promote that aside from saying you got a new game coming
I don't know
out.
if that makes you the biggest video game company in the world, though.
Just that alone, no. But that's a big part of it.
Money, then.
That's a big part of it, though. You know what I mean? We said it earlier. They pretty much are the largest gaming company in the world.
Electronic Arts is arguably, yes. The only one comparably is Activision, and I would say EA.
Right, and we've already talked about how few games Activision has. Yeah. And if you look at that,
that you need to have the games that have buzz and everything like that. If you want to have a Grand Theft Auto or something like that, if you don't have that, if you don't have the relevance, then you're not going to be able to do that. Which means Electronic Arts would not be making as much money as they want.
Oh, that's exactly what's happening right now.
Would not be happy.
That's exactly what's happening now.
Yes.
Yes. That's what they're working on. They're working on their relevance because they already have their concrete base.
Well, they're relevant, but not for the right reasons.
Right. They're working on their positive relevance because they have their concrete base that basically no other company in the industry has. No other company has that concrete base of The Sims, Madden, FIFA. No other company has that base. They used to have NBA Live, and they mucked that up.
Actually, no. You're wrong. 2K has the basketball fan base. So no, there is another company that has that.
No, yeah, they don't have an exclusivity on it anymore. No, but I'm just saying they used to have a corner on that market. Mm-hmm. There was a time when NBA Live was the standard, and then they lost it. Because they were like, oh, we couldn't be touched, and then they had a competitor.
Actually, there was a time when FIFA wasn't the biggest soccer one. It used to be
Pro Evolution, right?
Konami one, PES.
Yeah, Pro Evolution Soccer. Yep, that used to be the one.
Yeah,
but
all this serves is just to show that things can change. No one is impervious to anything, and when you make enough mistakes, regardless of how much money you're making now, it can cost you
in one way or another.
Don't fuck around with it.
Yeah, in one way or another, it can mess with you. It's gonna mess with you in different ways. But unfortunately, some of the ways aren't whether or not you're making record profit or not.
and then that may be true, but we're talking about how Electronic Arts is the biggest video game company in the world right now, and look at how badly
and they're treading water. It seems
how badly it's going for them right now.
Yeah, it seems as if they're treading water. It really does.
And it doesn't even matter if they made a good game or not. I mean, a lot of people had problems with Battlefield 5, but you're enjoying it.
I love it. It's great.
And it's not like it's the worst thing or whatever. Hell, even Anthem with all its troubles, no one's saying it's like god awful. It's not.
Yeah,
Fallout 76.
It's there. It's there. I'm satisfied with it.
And Apex Legends, everyone loves, and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I think Apex Legends may even die off sooner than people think. It seems. I played that hardcore for like a week, but the big issue, and I think this is an issue I have just personally. This is probably not a, genre thing since we're talking Battle Royale as a genre, but I have a hard time justifying what I'm working towards.
Okay.
Because every battle
have a better monetization system inside there eventually. I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to have to.
Because right now they're trying to get more of that base in there.
Right.
Also, all the skins that they have for the characters kind of suck.
Right. See, that's a part. That's my thing, because you think about it, with a battle royale game, everybody starts from ground zero. At the end of the game, you build all your guy all the way up, and then you lose it all in the next game. You start from ground zero again, right? So, in playing all these sequential matches and getting experience that level up your character, what is leveling up your character actually doing? It's only giving you access for more external customization.
Yeah.
And when I personally realized that about Apex Legends, I sat there and thought, okay, why do I want my banner to look cool with animations? And why do I want badges? And why do I want that on there just to prove people that I've been playing this game for a long time?
Yeah.
And once I realized that, I was like, okay, I don't, it's a little bit different when you're playing the game that often, like a Destiny, because you want that one massive cool gun or whatever that no one else has, that has real life effects in the game.
Yeah, but see, you can't do that because when you level up and all that kind of stuff, you get loot boxes, and that's how you get your stuff. And
if they
were to use the real money for that, then they would be pay to win.
Well, no, it's not. I'm not even saying you have to pay to win. I'm just saying, because in Destiny you don't have to pay to win. You find the loot in the game. In Apex, you're not finding loot. You're just
a lot of the game is PvE, so that's why it works better.
What in
Destiny? A lot of it's PvE.
It's both. Yeah, the loot is PvE, yes, but there's PvP.
That's the thing.
Yeah, there's PvP in there too. There's a diehard PvP.
Everyone knows that the core of Destiny is the story and the raid.
I did that too. Yes, and the raid. Yes.
And the raid. And all that stuff is about working together.
Yes.
So that's why it's better to have, stuff that makes you better and everything.
Yes.
Which is
why I guess I don't play a whole lot of Overwatch either, because even though that's a little bit, it's not battle royale, but it's like you play it more so that you can get better or whatever, and it's the competitive thing. Whereas Apex Legends, I don't know. I guess it's one of those where you have to be
fighting games. You don't get.
It has to be an esport kind of thing, I suppose.
You don't get things to make your character better in fighting games. It's just a matter of skill.
Yeah.
It's the same idea. Now, one thing that's interesting is there is like Injustice 2, the raise your stats when you get armor pieces. And then I remember in Street Fighter Alpha 3, they used to have this World Tour mode that you can use to increase your stats. Now, that's a lot of fun. But the thing is, though, is that when you start going PvP, it makes it completely unfair.
Right. Yeah. It does.
Unless you have like a mode separate for that, you don't want to do that. And Apex Legends currently has one mode.
Yep.
You don't want to do that. Oh, also, I'm just going to throw this out there because you're saying Apex Legends might not work. Before Apex Legends came out, Epic Games announced that Fortnite's profits have gone down 48% from December to the end of January.
They have a desperation move when they started giving away the Battle Pass.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Season 7 Battle Pass. So
and this was before Apex Legends came out, so we can only imagine what's happened to it.
Yes.
And you know
but again,
what's weirder about all this though? PUBG was making 50% of what Fortnite was making. So now Fortnite's making about the same as PUBG is making. But you know how much PUBG's making? You know how much it made last year?
Probably pennies.
No.
They were making a good amount last year.
$1 billion.
Yeah, they had a good fight.
Fortnite went from $2 billion to $1 billion, and Apex Legends is probably making more than that, or at least catching up to that. You know, at the rate that it's going.
How are they though? Well, I guess they do have some transactions.
Well, here's the thing: Apex Legends hasn't made $1 billion yet because there hasn't been enough time for them to have made that.
Right.
But they're making money now at a higher rate than Fortnite was, and Fortnite last year made $2 billion.
Yeah.
So
it'll be one of those things.
To hit it.
We'll see for how long they're able to do it. Because I mean, as with anything, that's the thing. You know, how long is Apex the new hotness before somebody else comes out with another new hotness?
Well, do you really think Firestorm's going to do it?
What is it?
Firestorm, the Battlefield 5 Battle Royale that's coming out?
Oh, hell no. That's not even going to make a tick. Exactly. I'm just saying there may be somebody else that comes out with a new hotness that does. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way. You know, that's the one thing with the whole Battle Royale thing. Everybody's doing it. And, you know, once something hits well, it's going to hit well, but it's only going to hit well until that next new thing that does Battle Royale well comes along, you know. So I don't know.
True. I will say, though, that I thought Battle Royale would have been over by now, and I'm wrong. I'm clearly wrong.
I can kind of. I mean, I saw it. I could when I first played it, I could see why it is as popular as it is because it's highly competitive, but it's bursts. It's not something.
And it also encourages teamwork because a lot of people like to play in squads.
Yeah, if you play in squads. Yeah. If you don't play in squads. But no, I can see why, because you don't necessarily have to be invested in every match because it's, you know, you do a match in like 5 minutes or 1 minute or just try again. I can see why. And then like you said, once you recognize it, okay, you devote yourself to becoming better at it. It becomes from just something to play to this is something I want to be competitive in. And once you get to that point, that's when you can go from just being I play it every now and then to I want to do this as an esport. You know?
Yeah, and then you also have games like Tetris 99 that show that the Battle Royale genre can
be anything. Battle Royale Modra.
Battle Royale is kind of like a roguelike, where it's kind of really more like just a set of mechanics that can be thrown onto anything else.
Yeah, that's good.
That's not really a genre. That's just like a.
It's a Modra. It's a Modra.
It sounds like an RPG because you have different games with RPG mechanics.
Actually, that's kind of true now too. The RPG kind of like began as a genre and now has been demoted to like.
A feature. A feature. Yeah, it's a mechanic. A game mechanic. Yep, that's what it is now.
But if a game centers around that mechanic, then it is a part of that genre.
It's a game.
Maybe.
So I'm right.
Sure.
No, because Tetris 99 exists.
Woo! 1-1.
Because Tetris 99 exists, you will never be right.
Oh Lord, maybe we should wrap it up. We're We're bouncing off of multiple topics here.
We didn't get around to it, and we're already going to be at 2 hours here, so I won't get into it. But I will just end this by saying I understand the perspective from the business side of things, but we need to make sure that the other side of things is protected.
That's where the unions come in.
Hashtag unionize game developers.
Hell yeah. I think they need it. I think they really
desperately need it for a industry that wants so desperately to be like the movie industry. I'm surprised there isn't like 50 unions already.
Yeah, you don't have something like SAG to help protect you.
Yeah, there's no.
You have different.
Well, compared to other industries, isn't the gaming industry considered, a young buck? You know what I mean? In terms of like the workforce or whatever. So it's still, I don't want to say it's in its infancy, but compared to other industries, it's young.
Yeah, but they're not. But let's be honest. This industry isn't starting from zero the way that other ones did, because we have other, industries to go by.
Oh, Denovan said he worked for EA. Most companies are located in right-to-work states. Oh.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and he whispers of union. You had to look to the door. Yeah, because unions mean it costs a whole lot more for you to pay your workers, and then you have to start managing contract. I used to work at a company that had a union workforce, and it was one of those where, like, as an engineer, I go on the work floor, and because of the contract that the company had with the union workers, I wasn't allowed to even touch a tool. If I touched a tool in that company, then the company, I don't know if they got sued or what. I don't even know what the deal was, but it was like really, really, really bad, because it gave the perception that I was stealing work hours from the union, and that's bad.
Well, regardless, I still think that there should be a union, because one, the union can have different rules. It's not like, we have a union, so we're going to have the exact same rules as all the other unions. But it's not how that works.
True. You still have to get the companies to buy into it. That's the key.
Oh, well, no, that's not. That is not the key. Because
it is. It is the key. Because they're the people you have to work the contracts out with.
Unions don't exist so that the company can have somebody to work with.
Yes, that's not how that works. It kind of is.
The unions exist so that the peoples in questions have some sort of representation, so that it's fair.
Yes, but there's still workers outside of the union that companies can work with. It just depends on the state. It's one of those things. It depends on the state. The state, I think part of the thing is certain states you have to be a part of the union in order to do certain jobs. In other states, that's not the case. So unfortunately, it's complex matter, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a complex matter.
Yeah.
Dealing affidavit taking 2,000 people looking to take your spot. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right.
See, that's
people that are outside of the union.
This is the reason why you need something like that, because that's not fair. It's called workers' rights. It's called having representation before you do stuff like that. It's called, being protected. This is the reason why you have these things. That's why a union exists. There are laws in place to stop you from doing that. I'm aware of that, but that's the reason why you fight against those things.
Yeah, but and that's the key. A lot of times, organizing to get to that point is very difficult, because you're herding cats. You've got people that can afford to organize and wait in order to get to that point, and you've got the people that are scrapping just to make a buck, that just like, look, whatever you want, I'll do the job. I don't care about organizing. So you're fighting both of those perspectives when you're trying to organize. So it's
but when the
not as easy as
it's too much that you just do what they say and then you still get laid off.
You just go to another company.
So there you go.
There's a lot of places that do that. I get laid off and I'm an engineer. They don't have engineering unions. So, it's one of those things. You just go to another company.
It's every thing like that. We were just talking about, the movie industry. There's SAG and there's a Writers Guild, and SAG is for actors. Actors are so highly paid if you're, a famous one, and they're still part of that.
Yep.
Because it's still necessary. I mean, hell, over in the movie industry, there's even a union for the people who do like the catering.
Yes.
Yeah, which is great.
Yep.
So I mean, it is worth it whenever you hear something like the affidavit saying that there's 2,000 people looking for them to take your spot. That's fucking threatening you.
Yep.
That's not okay.
But that's how it is.
That's
You
the
can
way.
change that. Times change.
Yeah, they change, but like I said before, that change sometimes takes time, and that change a lot of times is very difficult. It's not easy.
But it can happen, and nothing worth doing is ever easy.
Right. You just got to hurt all those cats, man. But it seems like that's the direction that things are starting to go into, because for all the talk of everyone saying, this is what we need, this is what we want this, it's going to take a lot of work to get there. And in that time frame, there's going to be people that need to eat. So there's going to be the people that are organizing that say, just wait, we need to make this work. And then there's going to be the people that are like, I can't wait. You're going to have to make it work on your own. I got to work. And that's why it's going to be difficult. So.
Yeah. It'll be difficult, but
that was the Madden team. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the E-grade work culture, man. See, that's not okay.
Right.
Yeah. So, but look, it'll happen because what's currently the way things are going doesn't work either. You can literally do everything right and you still get laid off.
Oh yeah.
Literally make record profits for the company and you still get laid off. So it's gonna go that way.
Yeah, man.
Hashtag
we should have Dinovan on one day, baby. That'd be awesome, and talk to him about it.
I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, project life cycle. Ugh. That's another thing. Ugh.
Well, that's going to be the podcast. We've been going for about 2 hours, going back and forth about Activision and the perspective of the business side of things, as well as kind of just how companies should be looking at how the profits should be coming in and how they shouldn't be coming in, and games as a service and all this kind of stuff. If you're interested in any of this stuff, please let us know in the comment section of the video. If you're watching this in the video or in the podcast service thing that you're using.
Yeah.
Or you can always follow us on Twitter and let us know your thoughts about this podcast. I believe all of our stuff is right below our names. BJ Brown is Bunny 3000. I, Esteban Cuevas, am Hey Colorwin, and Shawn Richards is Little Big Ham. You can always get in touch with us there. We're going to wrap things up right now. Each of us do our own little separate things that we do on our own personal channels and websites. So we're going to go around and see what we're all up to. Shawn, how about you get us started? What do you have coming down the pipeline?
All right, so I was not able to get my Throwback Arcade up last week due to some issues going on, but those have been fixed. It's going up tomorrow. Got a new one coming up. I'm also finally getting around to doing a couple of reviews I've been meaning to do, since I actually have the time out and I can have the resources to do that. So hopefully getting all that edited and up. If not this upcoming weekend, then the next weekend. But if you want to follow all of my antics for any of my videos, any of my content, like Esteban said, it is at Little Big Ham on Twitter. It is Shawnton Studios on YouTube and on Facebook. You probably will never find me on Twitch because streaming is not going to work. I'm just going to say it right now. Streaming's not going to work. I'll let you know if it ever does. But yeah, that's going to be me. So, BJ, what you got?
I am jumping head over heels into Anthem for quite some time. probably until Division 2 comes out, and then I'll be jumping into that. But I will be streaming that as much as possible. I really should be doing a little bit more on the PC because I have this lovely Mamma Jamma that I'm trying to test out and play with, but I can't use it on consoles because it's for PCs because, USB only connection. So, frack. So, yeah, I've got to eventually figure out something that I'm going to stream on the PC.
Does the PS4 have USB?
No.
It has USB, but not for your headset. The headset has to connect to the controller, I think, in order for it to have all the features and connectivity and all that jazz.
Okay.
But hopefully, support is limited. Yeah. Again, I'll be probably streaming Anthem, probably for another few weeks. I might be jumping on the open beta which is that for? That's for Division. That's this weekend, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed that, so I'll probably be streaming a bit of that this weekend also. So it'll be a toss-up between those two, and if I get bored with either one of those two, I'll probably jump back in the Battlefield. So everywhere there is something aside from the Instagram and the Snapchats, which I don't do because I'm too old. As you see below, at Bunny3000, that's who I'm is, that's who I be. Everywhere, Mixer, Twitter, Facebooker, all the ers, that be me.
Yeah, from now on, Facebook is Facebooker.
Facebooker, yes, Facebooker. Awesome.
I don't know. That sounds too much like Facehooker.
Yeah. Oh, shh. We're trying to be TV 14 here, PG 13. One of those. We're not trying to go TVMA. Are we on TV? No, we're not TV. We're on Twitch TV. No, whatever. Yes, I'm having a stroke. Sorry, people.
No, that was bad because my internet started to fail at that point. So I said something, then it froze. And I was like, oh crap! The internet is now against me saying something like that.
Awesome.
Oh boy.
Well, I guess that leaves me. Coming up on heycolorwin.wordpress.com, I'm going to start doing a lot more writing. Got some reviews coming up the pipeline, as well as that editorial that I mentioned a couple of weeks.
Oh, years. Oh, man.
The whole Lion King theory thing that I said. I might take that into parts because I think just explaining the theory alone is going to be enough. But look forward to that. It's heycolorwin@wordpress.com. That's where I do all my writing stuff. I'm really going to start doing a lot more of that since my computer is still broken. I can't make videos.
Yeah, that's sadness. That happened to me. That happened to me at work this week, so I feel your pain.
Yeah. As well as that, I'm still doing my PS4 ghetto streams. It's actually been kind of fun.
It works, right?
Because it just works.
Yeah.
It just works. The quality isn't the best, and I don't have a PlayStation camera, so you can't, do face cam, but at least it just works. All I do is I plug in that headset that you told me to get, BJ.
Yeah.
And then I just set it up there and it's like, okay, I'm here.
There you go.
It works.
There you go. So, gotta start someplace, man.
I've been doing Onimusha Warlords. I have one more episode, one stream left until that's done.
How is that? How is it
with the saves?
Really? Yeah, I can't. Honestly, I didn't really even get a chance to do Warlords. I jumped in at 3.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how that plays. It's a
super simple game. Like, even the way that I've been playing it, I should have been done already. But the thing is, though, is that on both streams, I got past like 2 really difficult boss fights. Mm-hmm. Then they throw you into this place where it's like cheap, and I die, and there's no checkpoint. So guess what? I'm doing.
You have to do the boss over again. Oh, I hate those. Those are like old school games. That's awesome.
It is 2001, and that happens twice.
That's awesome.
And it happened on both streams. Otherwise, I would have been done already. Like, I'm literally in the last sections.
Okay, so how many controllers have you broken?
The PlayStation 4 controller is very
still working. So you haven't thrown it yet.
And
okay.
Also, the thing's actually kind of tough.
Oh, okay. So you have thrown it. Awesome.
I'm playing that. I'm also playing Darksiders. That's a lot of fun. It's not a hard game. It's just kind of a nice romp going through there. That's part of my Backlog Purge live series. where I get rid of games that are in my backlog. And that game has definitely been in my backlog for a very long time. This isn't even the first time I've been trying to stream it.
Yeah, I think I remember you were trying to stream it not too long ago.
Yeah, and then things broke, and but now it's working because PlayStation 4 streaming just works. And after that, I already know my next game that I'm going to be playing is Far Cry 5, and then I'll probably dip in a little bit into Dead or Alive 6 when it comes out later this week because that game actually looks fun.
No boot physics.
Yeah, and they're still definitely there, but like they actually decided to put in actual like hardcore fighting mechanics, so you're not just countering everything over and over again.
Counters.
So yeah, I've been streaming a lot. It is twitch.tv/HeyColorwin, and you can always catch the VODs at youtube.com/Colorwin. Anything that I streamed last week will probably be coming out this week, so look for it there. Other than that, you can follow me everywhere at HeyColorwin, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and that's pretty much it. I kind of was ignoring the other ones again because I just don't care. I just don't care. Other than that, this is the Shaded Pixel Podcast. You can follow us everywhere at Shaded Pixels, except for Facebook, which is Shaded Pixels
podcast. Yes.
Yeah. And Instagram as well, I believe. Twitch.tv/Shaded Pixels, YouTube, or bit.ly/Shaded Pixels for the YouTube channel, where we put up the episodes of this podcast every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. But then the audio version goes up the night before, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Please give us ratings wherever you happen to be listening to the podcast. We post them up on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and podcast.com. However, I also know that you can get our podcast actually through different services. Just as long as you have access.
Yeah, and you can get that through podcast.com.
Yes.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Yeah. I believe that covers everything. I think I've gone through all the rigmarole.
Yeah, man. That's why I keep y'all around, because I'm never going to be able to remember that. Comes up at 10 over here, but over there at 7 on Thursday, and the other one on Friday at 2.
We're actually a lot more organized than a lot of places. Oof. A lot of places are like, we put it up on this day, the audio version, and it's whatever time we manage to get it up there, and then the video version will show up sometime after that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's whenever.
If we get it,
it's like whatever. It'll happen. Whatever.
Awesome.
But other than that, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll be back next week with another episode 32. And other than that, peace and love, gamers and players. We're out.
Outro.